Hey everyone, it is Brian Kaz here, joined by my friend and business partner Sean Casey. We have another Webfire Wednesday webinar for you here, and on this call, we'll be basically talking about ways to increase your sales. And even if you don't have an existing offer now, or you're about to make one, this will still be highly relevant to you because it's ways that you can start with basically a better offer or one that makes you more. And if you have an existing offer or product or service or anything like that, this will basically give you lots of ways to increase your sales and make more without really having to do more work in a lot of cases. So all that will be very, very helpful towards you. And as always, towards the very end of this call, we'll do the cash giveaway as well. So you'll have a chance to win $100 cash paid out to you today. So stay tuned for that. And as always, we'll also have plenty of time for questions and answers too. So if you have any questions, feel free to type those in the chat box. Either Sean or Sharon will basically answer you via the actual text while I'm basically talking, or at the very end of the call, I'll basically answer questions live on the call as well. But feel free to type your questions ahead of time on basically anything related to marketing or anything like that, and we're happy to help. And without further ado, we'll get the show on the road here. So once again, welcome to another Webfire Wednesday call, and this call will again be a way to increase your sales. Oh, looks like my screen disappeared. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Odd.
Yeah,
right.
we can see it.
Okay, weird. On mine it keeps basically tweaking. So that's all good if you can see it. So moving along, this is again every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Again, we'll have either a live training and or Q&A call for our members. And if you're here or registered for this series, you'll get a reminder each week so you don't forget. But if you can't make one, we'll have the recordings in the members area within a day of any of the calls under the training tab on the left side navigation bar, and they'll just be called Wednesday webinars. And you can see it there with the most recent one will be at the very top, and we list them out by essentially the title of the call, but the most recent one will be at the top. This one you'll see either later today or at the latest by tomorrow morning. You'll see it listed there. So I have a quick question for you guys. There were a handful of members that were basically expressing an interest, so I want to see what your thoughts were. And the question I have is, for these training calls that we have every Wednesday, we typically do about 90% or so ourselves. It will usually be me or Sean, or basically a combo of us two, and maybe about 10% of them we'll have like a guest on if we think that the info they have is basically relevant and if we like it and if we think you'll find it useful. However, some members have expressed an interest in possibly having more guests because obviously more guests can have unique perspectives and more information on different things that they specialize in. And even though that sometimes means that obviously we would let them present an offer to you, which is what would get them on the call to start with. But the question I have for you is, which of the options below would you most prefer for these calls? Type in 1, 2, or 3 in the chat box. So you would type in a 1 if you want more guest speakers, maybe if you want maybe a fourth or a third of the time to basically be a guest, and 2/3 to 3/4 of the time to be either myself or Sean or both of us. So type in a 1 for that, or type in a 2 if you want like way more guest speakers, like if you want maybe half the time we have a guest for like maybe half the calls or so, and the other half would be myself or Sean. Type in a 2 if that's what you'd like, or type in a 3 if you'd like to keep it as is, which usually is about 90% us and about 10% or so being guests. So basically type in 1, 2, or 3. That'd be very useful feedback to get there. Um, all right, let's see. All right, so good mix there. All right, cool. Looks like a lot of you are happy with the way it is. There's a handful that want some more speakers. All right, cool. We'll definitely look at all your answers and see what can be done. All right, now let's move on to our training for this week on how to increase your sales. So there really are four main ways of increasing your sales, and each of these are important, and I'll go over each of them in a lot more detail one by one. So first, you can find more prospects, and this is usually what most people think is like the main way, or some think is the only way. That's not really true, but definitely, it can help. Obviously, if you want to make more sales, if you find more people that will buy your product, obviously, that makes you more sales. You can also simply charge more. I find a lot of people, especially clients that I've talked to, tend to like way underprice a lot of their stuff. Like there's stuff that they could easily charge 10 times more for, in some cases like 100 times more for, that they're like charging like a few bucks for. And in some cases, charging less can even make it harder to actually sell. So we'll talk a bit about some tricks there. And the third way is you can convert more, or basically better. And this is one thing that oftentimes is largely ignored too. Instead of just trying to drive more traffic to a sales page or a squeeze page, you can tweak the squeeze page or the sales page to basically make it convert better. And last but not least, you can also upsell or cross-sell more, make additional offers to them. And I find the majority of businesses there too tend not to really have a lot of additional offers, if any offers at all, and they're leaving a lot of revenue on the table. So first, we'll talk about finding more prospects. The first thing that you can do is you can create targeted content and videos, whether it's using Webfire or posting stuff to blogs or YouTube or anything like that, to try to grab the attention of new prospects. So if you're trying to sell, let's say, a product on how to lose weight, and you have a really awesome product on that, you could create a bunch of blog articles or content and videos on YouTube and such, where you give a handful of tips there on how people could lose weight. Or if you're selling a product on maybe how to clean carpets better, how to get stains out, give some info on how to do that, and maybe search for and see what people are trying to find basically answers for or solutions to their problems right now, and give tidbits of the info out there online to try to kind of like throw it like a net out there, where you have lots of content, lots of videos out there where people are more likely to find that and end up hearing about the product or the offer that you have. Oftentimes people don't take the time to really do any of that, and they just hope that people randomly happen across their site. You can also find prospects already out there online and reach out to them directly via email, forums, Q&A sites, and so forth. Webfire can be a great way to actually do that, because again, we have like several lead tools that can handle all that right there. And people oftentimes don't take the time to really even bother looking for prospects out there, many times looking to buy. So for instance, like let's say you sell, let's say your product is a very cool carpet cleaner that for whatever reason does a better job of cleaning carpet than most other products. Instead of waiting for people to magically find you, maybe look for people online asking questions like, hey, what's a good way to clean this stain, or hey, I haven't had any luck with these products right here. Does anyone know of anything else that might work? Find those guys out there online and interact with them, but most importantly, provide valuable, useful information to them, and that can really go a long ways, because you're not just getting like those one or two leads there. if you post on a forum or a Q&A site, again, you're not just helping those like 1 or 2 or 3 leads there. Over the course of weeks, months, or even years, you might get hundreds, even thousands of people, even tens of thousands of people seeing the answer or the post that you gave and ending up going to your site, checking out your offer and so forth. So it's a little bit of time that can pay out massively in the long run. You also can increase your rankings through keyword research. So if you're trying to rank your site or your articles or videos through doing careful keyword research, you can target additional content or tweak the current content that you have to rank better, because that will help you get more prospects as well. And there's a lot of people out there that tend not to take the time to do keyword research. Sometimes they try to rank for a keyword that is the first one that they basically thought of, regardless if it's easy or hard to rank for. Other times people don't even, do any keyword research to start with, or they don't even bother to try to, use a keyword on their site, yet they hope to somehow get ranked. Another thing that you can do as well is to form partnerships or affiliate deals with others. And there's a lot of tips here that can work really well. In fact, I think this is oftentimes one of the way overlooked methods of making it extra sales and such. People don't take the time to try to reach out to possible partners and stuff out there. For instance, if you have, let's say, a service, and let's say you do SEO, okay, or let's say you outsource to like an SEO place and you sell, SEO. So whether you do it yourself or you outsource doesn't matter at all. You can reach out to places that might, share similar prospects or a similar clientele to you without directly competing, and try to do a deal with them. Perhaps there's a web design firm that doesn't really do SEO, they just make websites and such. That'd be the perfect prospect for you to strike a deal with. Or let's even say that you're a local business, and let's say you offer parasailing or jet ski rental, or something like that, which we've had a handful of clients that have had businesses like that. Why not reach out to hotels and stuff near you to try to strike a deal with them, where they're paid a cut to basically book those sales through them. In fact, I've known people that have had single deals like that that make more than their entire business prior to that deal. But a lot of people just simply don't take the time to reach out. Or if you're in a market, like let's say you have an info product or software product or anything like that, find who the major players are in that market, reach out to them and see if there's any kind of deal that you can strike. Even if it's not an affiliate deal, maybe they'd be interested in a white label type deal, which is where you let them sell the product in their own name, and you guys just do some kind of split, of the money. Usually it works out better if you give them like as large a cut as you possibly can, because they're more motivated to make that deal with you. But I'm shocked at the number of people that simply don't take the time to reach out and try to make any of these deals. You can also advertise. A lot of people are kind of oftentimes afraid of paid ads, but you really shouldn't be, because again, free traffic is great, and paid traffic is also great as long as you're able to eventually make an ROI off of that. But a lot of people oftentimes don't, take that first step to even try any paid ads. And even if you do a tiny budget, like even a Facebook ad at like $5 or so a day, just to start with, is something you can start with and see if you can get any results off of that. And it's not just on Facebook. You can also look on AdWords. Then a good tip there, if you go on the AdWords side, you oftentimes can, instead of just trying to bid on generic terms, try to bid on keywords that are more likely to be people looking to buy, or people looking to buy more higher end stuff, or people looking for maybe information on a competitor that's selling stuff that you might be a better deal on. Whereas on the Facebook side, try to think when you target prospects there, try to really think, well, gee, what is my ideal prospect? What would they probably be liking or interested in? I mean, if it's like, let's say you're trying to target, let's say a dentist, would they would your target market really be a person that just likes basically dentists, or would they maybe like a dental association of some kind, or some organization of some kind? They'd probably far more likely be a dentist if they're part of an organization versus if they just like, let's say, dentists. So just some stuff to try to think about right there to get basically a better ROI. You can also too create a better or free lead grab offer. So instead of just trying to sell right off the bat, you can try to have an offer that you basically give out something for free to try to grab a lead. And then after obviously you get that lead, you want to try to sell them into your main offer, or whatever offers that you have. But there's a lot of guys that just go straight to trying to sell a product or a service where they don't even bother about trying to grab all those leads. And oftentimes the better model in a lot of cases, unless you're, maybe there might be exceptions where you're selling some really cheap stuff, but especially for the more higher end things, in a lot of cases, it might be better to try to grab that lead first, and then later, and by later it could even be the exact same day or the exact same instant, try to sell them that additional offer right there. And the better the free lead grab offer you have, the more likely you are to get more leads and get more prospects as well. And a rule of thumb I have is, if you can give something out for free that basically others would probably charge for, that's a very awesome lead grab. So try to spend some time to basically think about, what can you do for free that any person out there would probably expect to pay for, or basically others out there basically charge for. If you can do that, you can get a lot of leads off that. The second thing that you can do to make more sales is to simply charge more. Most people don't test their pricing at all. They just charge the first thing that comes to mind. And what I find is a lot of people, especially newer ones, tend to charge very, very little, because they think the less they charge, the more people will buy and the more that they'll make. And that's oftentimes the furthest thing from the truth out there. And you're shooting yourselves in the foot. And I've even seen guys that haven't changed anything except the price, and sometimes their conversions will actually increase with higher price points that they list their stuff on. So if you have the greatest thing in the world and you're charging only a few bucks, a lot of people might be like, well, it doesn't really seem right. This doesn't really seem like it has a lot of value in it, and they might not buy it because of that. Whereas, if you basically position it as, hey, this is an elite, train or product or whatever it might be, and let's say you charge like $1,000, people might say, whoa, this must be like, the best thing out there, the cream of the crop here, and more likely to possibly buy in some cases there. So I'm not saying that you'll magically make a ton more sales at like 1,000 versus a few bucks, but you certainly want to price test like $7 versus 27 versus 47 versus 67 or 97 and stuff like that, to try to find, hey, what range is your ideal price point in. And keep in mind that a more targeted offer you have will oftentimes warrant a higher price, because people pay more for specifics versus generalized info. And my favorite example with this is, if you were looking like let's say you wanted to lose, let's say, belly fat, okay? Would you be more or less likely to buy a short guide specifically on how to lose belly fat for more money, or a much larger guide for a lot less money that's just general how to lose weight? Well, what you'll find is oftentimes the majority of people would rather spend more to get the shorter book that focuses only on how to lose the belly fat, versus the general weight loss book that might be like 10 times as long and a fraction of the price. Reason being is, even though in both cases you'd lose belly fat. And in both cases, all the info is probably relevant. But when people think that the offer or the product that they're looking at specifically solves the problem that they have, and if they specifically know that, hey, this for sure solves the problem that I'm looking for, they're willing to pay more, even if it basically technically is a shorter book or has less info or is a higher price. So really keep that in mind right there. And it goes against what a lot of people think. A lot of people tend to think, well, gee, if I have a 1,000-page book instead of a 10-page book, I could make a lot more. Or, gee, if I have, a cheaper price point book, I'll have a lot more people buy this because it includes a lot more and is a lot less. And that's simply not the case. It's not how buyers think. So you want to keep that in mind. You can also increase the value and price of what you sell. And one way to basically do this is to make more done for you products or services, essentially. This is super easy to basically do, and my favorite example with this is, let's say you're a writer, or let's say you can outsource it, okay? If you don't want to be a writer yourself. If your basic service is, let's say, selling articles that you write or your workers write, you can't really make a ton of money off that. I mean, you might be able to sell an article for like $5 or $10 or so. I mean, if you're really, really good and lucky, I know there's guys that can get more, but typically there's a lot of writers in the $5 to $10 range. But your margin of profit isn't all that big, and it's a lot of work. But if you have, let's say, an SEO optimized article that you submit to an article site or a blog for them, you can charge a decent chunk more. Maybe instead of like $5, you can charge maybe $25. And the amount of work that you basically do there is almost nothing. I mean, to optimize an article for a keyword basically just means you target the keyword perhaps in the title and once or twice throughout the content itself. Something you're probably doing anyway, but because you mention it as a benefit, people think there's more value in it. And if you submit it to like an article site or to like a blog for them, there's a lot more value in that as well. But you can take that a step further and turn it into a blog or a website for them. In fact, you use a site like Blogger.com, and you can make a blog literally within a couple of minutes, and you can customize it for them too. And you can paste in an article literally in like less than a minute, and you can have a unique blog made in a matter of minutes. If you want to get really fancy, you can even go to a place like Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, and get a guy to make a custom header graphic or website graphic for $5, and have a completely unique site that has their custom graphics on it. And even if, let's say, instead of one article, you say, hey, you'll write 5, and you'll turn it into like a 5-page site or a 5-page blog, and you'll optimize all those articles for the keywords that they're trying to rank for, and you'll make them a custom site, and you'll optimize all that. That package sounds good, and it sounds like it has a lot of value. That's the kind of thing that people would expect that maybe if you charge $500 to $1,000 for, that might be a steal. There's guys that might think that's worth thousands of dollars. So if you charge $500 to $1,000, they might think that's an absolute steal of a bargain. Yet your raw cost, if you were to outsource that, would be what? Basically the cost of 5 articles plus basically maybe a custom header graphic plus maybe a minute or two to make a blog. So you're basically talking maybe $25 to $35 to charge $500 to $1,000. Now compare that to a raw cost of like $3 to $5 to basically sell a $5 to $10 article. The amount of work is almost the exact same. It's only a tinge more to do that extra level service, but the value of the extra level service is way, way, way more. So the perceived value and the actual values a lot more because it's more done for them. It's more done for them. There's less work that the clients have to basically do, so they're willing to pay more. And at the same time, here's the kicker. People are oftentimes willing to, or they're not just willing, they want to buy like the done for you blog or site, and they're less interested oftentimes in the article because they don't know what to do with the article, and the website sounds far more appealing to them. So you can not only charge a lot more, you can get guys way more interested in your stuff. So that's a really powerful example right there that not a lot of people take advantage of. Or another example is like if you sell, let's say, a book on how to trade stock, great, that might be useful and all that, but there's only so much that you can charge. Whereas if you have a service where you help them through the first few trades, that's worth a lot more. Even if you, let's say, choose not to charge much, but you just make your money as an affiliate through knowing that they have to have a broker account, which might pay you hundreds of dollars in commissions. Is ways where you can increase the value of what you're basically selling them or giving them, and make a lot more at the same time without actually increasing your workload much at all, if anything. Another thing too is you'll want to consider if you want to sell an info product versus software or a service, or on the e-commerce side, if you want to sell like one product versus like a package or like a bundle. Because what I find is oftentimes there's a lot of people that want to sell like a cheap info product, like an ebook, but they could turn it into a video and perhaps charge more because the perceived value is higher. Or they could turn it into some simple software. They could outsource that work and get a coder to make some simple software that basically helps do what the guy basically is trying to teach their users to basically do, and they can charge way more. Or they could do a service where it's done for the clients and charge even more. And oftentimes I find like the vast majority of people that try to sell a product online or try to sell an offer online, the vast majority try to always sell a cheap info product. And they're leaving out, in my opinion, a lot of additional money in sales. Or even if you sell like a physical product, oftentimes I see people that I see possible buyers out there that really want a package or like a bundle, and there's not a lot of sellers out there that basically offer that. And I see this all the time, where try to think like, hey, like let's say let's say you have a jewelry site. Well, instead of just selling a necklace, maybe you can sell essentially a set where you have a necklace and a pair of earrings and all that too. You can oftentimes get a lot more money and a lot more interest in people that would rather buy a set than just one. Like one I saw that I thought was good. Like there was a client that sold like essentially like a grout cleaning, and if that sold with like the cleaning product plus the scrubber and all that stuff, and it's very obvious that if you make it very obvious that it's basically a bundle, people might be more likely to buy the bundle, because instead of having to compete with dozens of different cleaners, there's a lot less people that sell a complete bundle that includes everything that you need. So again, keep that in mind there. On that side too. You also want to be specific in what your offers, what essentially their benefits are. So make sure, like, on the sales page you have, or when you're trying to make a sale, make sure you're crystal clear on what the benefits are. Oftentimes I see people that try to sell a product and they're not really making it clear what the product is useful for, or who would want the product, or what the benefits are. And you'll oftentimes lose a lot of sales by not making that crystal clear. You also want to be more convincing on why your offer is a better deal, especially if you're competing with a lot of people, especially if their price points are all over the place, from a lot less than you to a lot more. You want to make sure that your offer stands out, and in the eyes of a random user, seems like the better deal. Like if you have, let's say, a carpet cleaning product, there's a lot of carpet cleaners out there, and if yours really is better, you want to make it known, hey, why is yours better? Even if yours costs more, you want to be definitely, absolutely certain to make sure that people know why yours is a better deal. For instance, I had a client once that sold it was like arthritis pills, and that they had a really good product. But the problem is they were in a competitive market where they were competing with a bunch of other pills basically doing a comparable thing. Now, the results that they had, the tests that they've had, the endorsements that they weren't even paying for, like they had actual athletes endorsing their products that weren't being paid anything. They just basically liked and loved the product that they had. They did next to nothing to really mention all that. It was just like, hey, we help with with arthritis, and they didn't really mention the benefits much or really why their deal was a better deal. And the problem was they were competing with guys that had cheaper bottles, even though the amount of pills that a lot of the cheaper guys had were a lot less, were per pill. They were actually a better deal. But because they sold a huge bottle with tons and tons of pills instead of a smaller one, it looked like they were more expensive than the competition, but they did nothing to clarify any of that. So you really have to try to convince your prospects on why your offer is a better deal, and why that's the right package for them. The third way to make more is to convert more, and this is basically having better conversions both on your opt-in pages and on your sales pages, so you can convert more leads and more sales. And on that note, a specific squeeze page offer will attract more leads. This is a mistake I see a lot of guys make. They'll have an opt-in page or a squeeze page or an opt-in form on their site, and typically it will say, sign up here, or it will say, sign up to our newsletter, or it will say, sign up for something, and there's no real pull for the person to sign up. Well, people aren't just like, well, gee, I see an opt-in form, I'm going to enter my name and my email, and I'm going to sign up just because there's an opt-in form there. No one thinks like that, yet that's what a lot of people with an opt-in form or with a squeeze page think. They think people just magically enter their email, then when they don't, they get upset. And really comes down to, if you have a specific offer, especially an appealing offer, people are far more likely to opt into your opt-in offer or your squeeze page. So make sure you have a specific offer, and I find it doesn't have to be like an elaborate one. Like even like a short one, like let's say you're selling a weight loss product or anything like that. You don't want to say, hey, get my free weight loss report, blah blah. That doesn't work as well. It's better than basically saying, hey, just opt in for the heck of it. But if you had an offer like hey, find out how these 3 people lost X amount of weight in X amount of time, that's a little more appealing because it's a specific offer with a specific example that people would be interested in seeing how that was exactly done. Another big thing is you want to test a sales page versus a video versus a webinar or webinar replay, where some offers are typically better on one versus another. And oftentimes I see a lot of guys will have basically just like a text sales page for basically every offer, and oftentimes that's not the best way to sell something, especially like, for instance, if you're selling a higher price point product, like let's say you're selling $1,000 product or a service or an offer of some kind, a text sales page might be very hard to land that $1,000 sale, whereas a webinar or even a webinar replay might actually make that way easier to convert that sale. Whereas if you have like a $7 offer, a webinar might not work nearly as well as a text sales page or a short video sales page. Of course, you never know until you try, but a lot of people tend to have everything as a text sales page, and oftentimes they're hurting themselves a lot because they're making it harder to sell what it is that they have. You also want to clearly list off your product's benefits, like what it can help with, what it can solve. You also want to have social proof whenever possible. And there's different kinds of social proof. Like one can be like a testimonial or a case study, and it doesn't just have to be a testimonial from like another person. It could be like a case study of your own. Like, hey, here's an example of how I did this, or here's an example of how this was accomplished. Another kind of social proof is looking for examples of places out there that are following basically your typical advice and doing really well. Like if you sell, let's say, a social media management service, yes, it's great to have like a testimonial of people loving your stuff. Yes, it's great to have case studies where you're like, hey, ever since I used this method right here, I've got like a fan page with X amount of people, or I got X amount of leads, or X amount of sales. That's all great, but if you're brand new too, another way is to say, hey, look, according to the study right here, those that have a presence on social media, make X amount more. Any kind of proof like that from studies, and you can do basically a Google search and oftentimes find a ton of this info. You can use that as well as basically more reinforcement or social proof that it gives your prospects on why they need to have what you have. You also want to be clear and concise on what your offer is and who it is for. I oftentimes see a lot of guys that aren't really clear on what their offer is, and it's like, I can't tell you the number of like sites I've seen where I'll spend a minute or two to kind of glance over it, and I don't really know what they're selling. And in a lot of cases, I'm not sure if the actual owner knows exactly what their offer is. And the worst thing that you can do is make it really, really hard to know what you're selling. Because no one just says, well, I don't quite know what they're selling, but I'm going to give them my credit card anyway because I'm really bored and want to buy a bunch of stuff. Again, people don't think like that, so you want to make sure you have a very clear and concise offer. If a stranger goes to your site and they don't know what your offer is after glancing at it for a few seconds, you're doing a bad job. You want to make it crystal clear the second a person lands on your site what it is that you're selling, what it is that your offer is. You also want to have at the same time a great headline as well. This is one of the easiest things to actually test and change is a headline. The more attention-grabbing headline you have, the more likely you are, to can convert more, whether it be leads or sales. Like if you have a weight loss product and you have like a squeeze page or like an opt-in form, having a headline of free report on how to lose weight isn't all that appealing. One that's more like learn how these three people lost a combined X amount of pounds in X weeks doing this one simple 5-minute trick sounds much more appealing. Even though the actual trick might be super easy to explain, might be a very short report, people are more likely to opt in because that sounds very appealing. People tend to love case studies and stuff like that, which is also another thing. But always want to test headlines because the more appealing that you can make it, the more likely guys are to not only are you likely to grab their attention, they're more likely to basically opt in or buy in a lot of cases. You also want to test different ads, email swipes, so on and so forth. So if you're mailing leads out there or you're testing ads, you want to make sure to test a variety of different ads or a variety of different emails, trying to follow the same rules basically. And usually that's have a great headline, clearly list out your benefits, and those are fairly easy to play around with and test. And last but not least, you want to have an obvious call to action. This is a big one that a lot of guys miss, and I don't care if it's a sales page or a squeeze page or even a video or like an article that you have on a blog. You want to make sure, like, even if you have like an article and you're trying to send guys to like an affiliate link or to your own site, you want to make sure that you're crystal clear on what you want them to do. Like if you want them to click a certain product to check it out or buy, you want to bluntly say, click here to check out this, or if you have basically an article that's like a review, at the very end of the review, if you recommend the product, you want to say, hey, click here to get the cheapest price on blah, blah, blah. And have it be really obvious, have the link be underlined, have it be blue, and literally say click here. In fact, what I find is, on like a text link, if you say click here at basically the start, you'll increase your conversions on that, or you'll increase your click-through rate just by saying click here. Because even though like most people know what a link looks like, a lot of people don't. So when you say click here, you increase that, even though to you or I, it might be like really obvious, but when you say click here, that can increase your clicks there, and as a result, can increase the sales that you can make as well. Or if you have a sales page, just say have like a big obvious buy now button, or anything really obvious that stands out. Whatever you want them to do, make it crystal clear. So if you want them to basically opt in, make it crystal clear what they should do. If you want them to basically buy, or you want them to check out an affiliate link, make it crystal clear on what you want them to do right then. The less clear you make it, the less likely you are to have guys do just that. And the final bit too, to make more, is with upsells and cross-sells. And they're fairly similar things, so you don't have to be confused with what's what. Sometimes people oftentimes use these terms interchangeably, but usually an upsell is trying to sell a person into like a higher end product or service, whereas a cross-sell is trying to sell them a related or complementary product or service. But for the sake of this stuff, you can almost view them as basically the same thing, and that's basically trying to make an additional offer to make more sales. And most people out there don't have upsells or cross-sells. In fact, even though it's one of the easiest ways to make extra income very, very fast, a lot of people just don't have them, and they're focused only on making a single front-end sale, and they're completely ignoring all the money on the back end, because again, they can be one of the quickest ways to increase your revenue by 30% or more. In some cases, it can make a lot more than just that. But by offering upgrades or additional related products or services, you can both make more money while helping your customers at the same time as well. Easy upsells or cross-sells can be additional training, more advanced info, higher end products, even like access to Facebook groups or anything like that. But they can also be things like basically batteries for a product, a carrying case, complementary items like basically an earring set if they bought like a necklace. Anything like that can be basically an upsell or a cross-sell. So any additional offer that you can make can work well right there. They're much easier to sell than a front-end product, so it's much easier to make like a sales pitch, because keep in mind, if someone already whipped out basically their credit card for you the first time, they have a relationship with you and they have trust in you. So you don't need to have like a super long sales page to sell them on like a simple upsell again. Oftentimes just like a short sales page or a short video or anything like that can be some easy money that you can make right there. In fact, just to prove my point here, years back, I was part of essentially like a contest where the contest was to see how much money could be raised from a live launch over a period of a few days, and this was live in front of a crowd, and we had to basically create the product, market, and sell it in only a matter of days. And I basically agreed to. It wasn't initially my task to really do any of that, but the guy that was essentially making it all was running into some issues, and he asked if I could help out, and I agreed to help. And one of the first things I saw is that, hey, you're selling a front-end product. I think it was for like maybe 27 or 47 bucks or so, and I'm like, you don't have any upsells. and that's one of the quickest ways to make more money. And he's like, oh man, I don't have time to have an offer. I don't know what I'd sell. And I said, hey, you don't need to complicate this. I'm like, you can just shoot a video of yourself, which is super easy. I mean, you don't even have to have a PowerPoint. I mean, typically with mine, I'll do like a text sales page or like a PowerPoint type one where I basically record myself basically talking about a PowerPoint. But I mean, if you want a super easy thing, just record your own face basically talking about what the offer is. And he basically sold some additional training and some other upsell into another product too, where he was just an affiliate of it. So he sold some additional training. It was like advanced training essentially with him on. It was like a webinar that would take place like a week or two later, and then he had like a link to an affiliate product where he could make a couple $100 per sale on top of that too. And the video that he made initially for the upsell, it was horrible. The guy looked high. Now he wasn't high, but he was like super tired, so his eyes were like bright red. He wasn't really talking straight because he was like really tired, and it just looked bad. And he was like really down about that. He's like I won't get any sales. This sucks. Blah blah. And he's like, I don't have time to make it nicer. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Just keep it up and see what happens, because if you don't make an offer, you won't make any money. If you make an offer, you have a chance to make some more. And this literally took him like 5 to 10 minutes to basically make. And turns out that it was the revenue from the upsells, if memory serves, I think was like, it was basically responsible for half of the overall sales. So basically doubled, I think, the amount of total sales that they made just by having that upsell, as well as a back-end offer, which is just to an affiliate product saying, hey, now that you have this, you might also be interested in this other product right here, which can help out here. And then they click that and they check out another offer, and just by having that there, that made a lot of dough. Now, if that was like a fine-tuned offer, I'm sure it would have probably made even more. But it just goes to show that if you have an upsell of any kind, even a bad one, you're more likely to make a lot more. You also can have downsells too. So if you have an upsell, like let's say a person buys a product on how to lose, let's say back to essentially the belly fat, example. So they buy that for, let's say, I don't know, $27 or so. Maybe there's an upsell that is like, hey, would you like to get 3 additional exercises where we show you a video demonstrating the exercises, and let's say you charge $17 for that. If they turn that down, instead of selling essentially the video, maybe for less money, you can say, hey, would you just like a PDF version instead of a video, maybe for half the amount of money, where you show essentially how it's done with essentially graphics. A lot of people will jump on that. Or if you have a front-end offer on how to lose belly fat, you might have, let's say, an upsell on how to lose chin fat, or how to lose like a double chin, or whatever that might be, or whatever weight issue there might be. That would be a good upsell. But if a person turns that down, you could have possibly a downsell of, hey, well, I see you don't want the, video series and how to lose chin fat. Would you possibly be interested, instead on, this jumpstart guide to 5 quick exercises to help lose, fat in all these places. And if it's like half the price, you might get a lot of guys basically jumping on that. I've also seen guys that will do like, they'll have an upsell of like a video, and then the downsell will be just basically the transcripts for like half of the price. And there's a lot of people that oftentimes will jump on the downsell because they think they're getting a really awesome deal, because they're like, man, I don't really like the videos to start with, but I can get the transcripts, and it's half of the price, that sounds like a really awesome bargain now, and they can jump on that right there. So try to think of like possible downsells that you could have as well right there. Now, as far as how many upsells you should have, you should have at least one, but you can even have upwards of 3 or more in some cases without being annoying. But the key is to, again, always make your client feel special for basically buying. Don't make them feel like they're missing out. Like, don't say, hey, you bought this, but if you really want this to work, you also need this, this, and that. That just kind of makes the person feel bad about their initial purchase, and they might be more likely to refund at that point or be upset. But if you're like, hey, I see you bought this, or hey, you made a very smart choice of buying this guide on how to lose belly fat. If you also have a problem area here, here, or here, we have an extra guide here on how to lose chin fat or how to lose, whatever it might be. It complements their initial purchase, and it doesn't make them feel bad or thinking that they didn't get a good deal on that first offer. And I know there's some places there that have like dozens of upsells, which can get excessive. But if you have anywhere from like 1 to 3, that's probably a good range to start and can make a lot more money for you. Also, on that same note, don't forget about back-end offers as well. And a back-end offer is basically offers that you can have on a thank you page or later on, like email follow-ups or anything like that. In fact, we've had Webfire on the back end of other people's products, where someone might buy a product on, let's say, how to make, let's say, an e-commerce store, and on the back end it might be like, hey, you also need essentially traffic. Here's some free training on how to get that, and a special offer that we have where it might be basically an offer for them to get training from Webfire and to check out the Webfire product where they can buy it right there. Or if there was another example where a person sold a webinar product where it's like, hey, it's great that you have this software to help you make these webinars, but obviously you also need traffic. Here's a cool tool that we use to drive a lot of traffic, and they'll basically drive them into Webfire. Or an example outside of that would be if let's say you have a product on how to clean carpets, you might have a back end offer, which could also be an upsell too, but you might have a back end offer on how to clean wood well, or anything like that, where you could have either your own product or an affiliate link to another product. Because keep in mind, they don't have to be your own products or services. So even just affiliate products can work too, as long as they're complementary, and as long as it makes sense. So if the logic flows, in the minds of the prospects, well, gee, I bought this product to help with my carpets, but at the same time, I do also have some wood, and it would definitely be useful if I cleaned that too. So let's check out this too. So it's complementary, and it's better to make an offer than not. So just keep that in mind. So with that, guys, right there, if you have any questions on either the stuff I talked about here, or questions pertaining to your own products or services or ideas, or anything at all related to marketing or anything, feel free to ask those now in the chat box. And on that same note too, while you guys are asking questions and while we're answering, you can go to our Facebook group at getwebfire.com/FB group. It will forward to our Facebook group there. If you're not a member of the group yet, it is free, and Sharon will approve of you within like a minute, if not less, if you go there right now. She has a post up where she's basically asking what you thought of today's call. If you leave a comment within that post in just a few moments here, we'll pick a random comment to give you $100. So we'll pick a random winner and give them $100 that will pay them over PayPal today, this afternoon. So if you want to go over there right now, you can do that. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, we'll basically answer your questions right here. All right. So, Sean, I know you've probably been answering a handful of questions while I was talking.
I've been working hard.
All right.
Even if I have to say it myself, I've been working hard. Hey, Christian asked this question back when you were talking about pricing, and I'm not sure if you got a chance to address it right then or not. So let me just throw it out here, and he was asking about e-commerce for watches and jewelry. How do you choose your pricing and charge for those? Because you were talking about how you can increase the price and value of something.
Sure. So, well, so like if you have like, let's say a physical product, okay, there's a few things that you can do to increase the price of it. And it really depends a great deal upon upon the product itself. Like one example I've seen is there's like virtual reality headsets where you can have them like basically drop shipped for, I think like there's some for like less than $10, but there's like some you can pay extra to get like controllers and like a bunch of like a list of apps that you can download and use with it. And there's a lot of people that sell the individual headsets, but there's a lot less that sell a bundle that include like a controller too. And there's even less that include a controller as well as like a little booklet of suggested apps. And how hard is it to make that little booklet? I mean, it's basically nothing. It's a piece of paper that you print and can ship with your product, itself, or email out. And the perceived value of that is much higher because it's a complete set now. So instead of charging maybe like $25 and making like a $15 profit, you charge 50 or 60 and have a more complete product, and people probably walking away more happy, feeling like you're the elite one. At the same time, you can also do things on your sales page to make you look like more like an elite product or like an elite offer. And if you use watches as an example, what is the difference between a Rolex and a $10 watch that you get at Walmart?
The gold on the Rolex is real.
Yes, well, there's that too. But besides that, okay, what is the difference? Or let's say a better example would be, what is the difference between a watch that has real gold on it for like $100 versus a Rolex for, let's say, 20 grand? Both of them tell time, okay? Both of them might look real nice, but the perceived value of the Rolex is much higher. If you look at the ads and the advertising on a Rolex versus like a cheap watch, there's like a night and day difference. So that's one thing that you can look at right there too. Is don't make your watch or your products look cheap, especially if it's the kind of product like not all products you can easily bundle, not all products you can easily increase the perceived value of, but like another example is that we've sold what we call essentially bumper balls, or like a knocker ball, which is like a big inflatable ball that you get inside and ram other people with. There's a lot of other balls out there, but some of them are very cheap ones that have like very cheap and thin rubber that tends to essentially pop. So when we sell those, we want to make it clear that the value of ours is much better, and that's why it basically costs more. So on that, we make it crystal clear that the quality of the rubber is really high, the thickness of it is really high, so they don't pop like a lot of others. So all of a sudden, in that case, if there's a guy looking to buy like a really cheap one, you might say, well, gee, this one doesn't say it has like the thick rubber, or this one does not say it's less likely to pop and stuff like that. Therefore, this other one is probably a better deal, even if it costs more. Same thing with a watch. You can talk about the benefits. You can show it off more, and talk about like the quality of it and stuff like that. But when it comes to a watch too, oftentimes people buy based upon if they think it looks like basically a quality watch. So if it looks like a cheap plastic watch, it'd be very hard to turn around and charge a lot of dough. But if it looks like a nice watch, obviously you can charge more for that as well. And you'd be shocked at the types of watches and jewelry and stuff that you can get for dirt cheap. at like wholesale that you can basically drop ship off AliExpress and places like that you can charge a lot more for, and people assume that it costs a lot more for. Like I've seen, even if you go to like boutique stores and stuff, a lot of the jewelry that they sell there, I mean, on the low end they might sell stuff for like 20 to 30 bucks for like a necklace. On the high end they might have stuff they sell for like hundreds of dollars. At like basically a typical boutique shop, a lot of that stuff literally costs them like $1 to basically get. The higher end stuff might cost them $5 or $10 tops, but there's just a massive profit in that, and it's all basically in the presentation of all that right there. So Sean, I'm not sure if you want to add anything, or if there's any.
No, that was good. That was good. But related to that, what I love, because I love this post. So Marion writes, I dislike having to give my credit card info repeatedly. I'd much rather know up front what the upsells are. Okay? And then, but wait, 1, 2, 3. The fourth post underneath that from Jeff was asking about upsells, and he said, I really like this upsell idea. He said, because I bought things through JVZoo, and they always have upsell videos that usually sell me. Okay? Now, if you do a poll of people and you go, hey, how many of you would like to see if there's upsells? Like 99% of the people would say no, if not 100%, right? And you'll be like, no, I don't want to see upsells. I don't want to do anything else. So let me phrase it this way. If I have 17 features for a product, and in order to make it profitable for me to produce and sell that product with all 17 features, I have to charge $500. But if instead I could break that product down into a basic, advanced, and expert levels, and the basic level I could sell for $99, because for a lot of people that's all that they want, and I can simply make that clear presentation to people, and they can choose to buy the $99 version, then they could do that, and maybe that's all they can afford, or that's all that they want, and then I can give them the option on the upsell of additional products or services, or better software options, or something that might make their lives easier. They don't have to buy that to make the first part of it work. Doesn't it make more sense that I do it that way? And whether you agree with me or not, it works better that way. 100%, no question. Okay, and you're going to make more sales, and that's the reason why everybody does it. By the way, for those of you who are thinking, well, it seems like everybody sells the same way, and I should sell differently to be different, just erase that thought from your brain right now. I hear that from people all the time. They're like, well, my sales pitch looks like the other sales pitches. Well, if the other sales pitches sold $1 billion, should your sales pitch look like theirs, or should it be like, yeah, they've sold $1 billion, but I'm going to be completely different and revolutionize the universe? You probably ought to copy the $1 billion sales model, right? Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, and there's another question on essentially the watches example. Is how to do as far as how to upsells and downsells and that. Well, one easy example on a watch is if someone buys a watch, maybe they're interested in having two, or having not two identical ones, but possibly one in another color. So you could say, hey, if one watch you sell for basically, let's say, $29, maybe they can get two for $40 or $49, where your raw cost might only be a few bucks a watch. So to them, they might say, well, gee, for $10 more, I get a second one, and I get a second, let's say, color. That might seem like a really awesome.
Okay, is it just me, or did Brian just disappear right off the planet? Poof, okay, he disappeared. All right, I just wanted to make sure maybe it was me. All right, good. So we've lost Brian. Oh no, what are we going to do without Brian? We'll see if he comes back in a second, since we've got his screen up. All right. Somebody mentioned that they went through they bought something the other day and they were forced through a series of long videos trying to upsell them before they could access their product, and that was very, very annoying. Well, so upsells are really, really annoying when they're badly done, and I would agree with that. But when you make someone an offer, you show them a headline, you start playing a video, but then you give them the option, hey, this isn't for me, I'm not interested. They can skip on to get to their product, or they could choose to watch the video and be interested in it. Then at that point, okay, that's the way it should be done. So you don't have to be like annoying and force people to spend an hour watching stuff they have no interest in to get to their actual product. You still have to do good marketing to be able to do that. So we'll see if Brian decides to come back or not.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Hey, Brian, welcome back.
Yeah, so apparently GoTo just said that the connection was lost. So I'm guessing you didn't hear me talking to myself.
But somebody wrote, oh, good stuff you were talking about too. It's a shame you had to leave us.
Okay, so so to restart what so I'm not quite sure where it left off. But I was basically talking about like upsells that you could do with like a watch. So one example of that is let's say to drop ship a watch is like $5 or so. There's some that are only $1. There's some that might be 10, but let's just say 5. If you charge, let's say, $29 for a watch, you're making a lot of profit there. But a lot of watches might come in different colors or slightly different styles. And as an upsell, you might say, hey, would you like to add 1 or 2 more in these additional colors? Or like some might have a different colored band or a different colored style, but it says, hey, would you like to add 1 or 2 of these more, and we'll charge you $40 instead of like 30. A lot of people say, wow, so I get 2 for 40 instead of 1 for 30. That seems like a really awesome deal. Even though it might only cost you a few bucks or $5 to ship that extra one, they think that's a really awesome deal, so they might be more likely to accept that offer right there. Or where, like, for instance, with like a necklace, the upsell could be a pair of earrings, or a bracelet, or whatever else it might be there. You could also ask yourself, hey, if a person buys essentially a watch, what else are they likely to be interested in? And that's something that you would know based upon what your store is or based upon what your target market is. But if they're interested in let's say watches, of course there's different kinds of watches that you could also sell them at the same time if they want more than one. But at the same time, like let's say the watch that you're selling is more of like a gadgety watch. In that case, you could possibly look at if there's other essentially gadgets, even completely unrelated to a watch, that you could sell. For instance, a good example that I saw around Christmas time, I was shopping for a relative of mine who it was a kid who likes basically like electronics, and I saw that there was like a remote control helicopter thing. And when you buy that, one of the upsells that they had was, hey, would you like 2? And it was like not that much more to get 2. And then if you said yes or no to that, they'd say, hey, would you like this remote control car? So instead of it being a helicopter, they also had a car, where it's not directly related to the helicopter, but it's kind of along the same lines. If you like one, you probably like the other one. And then as a final offer, for more money, there was like basically like an expedited shipping or stuff like that, which that might be a bit more hard for you to do one like that. But try to think of what other related things could you sell that they might be interested in, even if it's not directly related to the watch or the specific product at hand. But there's always things that you can upsell guys on. So any other questions, Sean, or should we do the cash giveaway?
I think we're good. I got the other ones answered. Let's give away money. Unless people don't want us to give away money. It's completely optional.
All right. So let's do that right here. I'm going to just refresh the page.
Why did they write haha? I wasn't being funny. Ask my wife. I'm not funny.
All right. All right, here are comments right here. And I'll refresh this page really quick. So I'll give you guys maybe another 10 seconds to leave a comment there. I'll do countdown 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'll just refresh just in case. All right, let me add the ones up outside of that real quick. All right, so a few people left comments outside of the main post, but I'll count those. So yeah, we'll do So try next time in the future. Try to make sure you always leave the comment on the main one right here, because it makes it way easier to actually count. Okay. Yeah, people are posting all over. I'll count from this one up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and then 7 plus. How many do I have here? 26. So we have 33 in total. All right. 14. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So April Blessed, if that's you and you want peace on earth, you are $100 richer. Just make sure to post your PayPal info in the chat to Sharon, and she'll get you $100 over today. So again, congratulations to April Blessed. So if this is you, you are a $100 winner this week. So congrats there. And with that, guys, let's see if there's, Sean, if there's any like last minute questions or anything like that, feel free to chime in.
We're good.
All right, guys. So with that, if there's any other questions or anything that pop up later, you can always write support@webfire.com, or even better than the email, if you log into the members area, there is a help desk or a support tab, and if you click that, it will basically go to a help desk. And if there's ever a problem with like an email, you'll always see basically our answers right there for you. So try to use that if you can, but we're happy to basically answer any questions that you have that pop up later or anything like that as well right there. So with that, guys, we want to thank you for being on this call this week, and we hope you can join us next week, again, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time as usual right there. So Sean, unless there's anything else you want to add in real quick, we can wrap this up.
No, just thank you everybody for being here. Take action and continue to have success. Thank you.
All right, thanks guys. See you next week.